The morning air outside Pine Hollow Public Library was still and cold. A light fog hung low over the pavement as Raymond Cole, 69, adjusted the strap of his worn canvas bag and bent down to tie his bootlace. His fingers, calloused from years of quiet labor, moved slowly, methodically, nothing out of the ordinary. On his belt, a utility knife. In his coat, a thermos and a registered sidearm. The job didn't usually call for it, but Raymond believed in being prepared. To anyone watching, he was just the janitor. An old man in a gray hoodie, starting another long shift cleaning up after people who never noticed him. Then, tires screeched. A cruiser pulled in fast, no siren, no lights, just urgency. The door flung open and out came Officer Drew Bell, young and arrogant, gun already drawn, hands where I can see them, he barked. Raymond didn't move for a second. Then, with practiced calm, he raised his arms. "What is this?" he asked, voice low. Bell's partner, Officer Carter, followed, one hand near his holster. "Got a call about someone suspicious," he said. "Matching your description. Behind the dumpsters." Raymond didn't argue. "My ID and sidearm are in my coat." Bell didn't wait. He shoved Raymond around, cuffing him roughly. Pulled the pistol from his coat like it was a bomb. "Got him." Bell called. "Armed, lurking, no badge." Across the street, someone filmed on their phone. Raymond didn't speak, didn't resist. But inside, something old stirred. Something patient. He'd lived through worse, and he knew this wasn't a misunderstanding, this was a mistake someone would regret. The inside of Pine Hollow Police Station buzzed with low chatter and fluorescent hum. Raymond Cole sat alone in a cold holding cell, the metal bench pressing into his back. His hoodie was damp from the mist outside. His hands, marked with deep red lines from tight cuffs, rested in his lap. His eyes scanned the room through the bars, calm, steady, unreadable. In the adjoining office, Officer Carter typed slowly, entering Raymond's info into the station's system. "No priors," he muttered, squinting at the screen. "Nothing weird, but," he paused. A small icon blinked red on the database terminal. "Not a normal alert." Carter leaned closer. "Hold on file, do not process, priority intercept." "What the hell?" he whispered. The alert multiplied, flashing across tabs. Then a new line appeared: a federal override in progress, stand by for contact. Carter's hand froze over the keyboard. From the dispatch desk, Officer Null answered a sudden call. She listened silently for 10 seconds. Her face drained of color. "They said stop everything," she said slowly. "Do not speak to the suspect. Federal agents are on their way. ETA, 7 minutes. Bell frowned. "What is this? Who even is this guy?" Raymond sat still. Watching. Waiting. Like he already knew. Null glanced toward the holding cell. He wasn't angry. He wasn't nervous. He looked like a man sitting in a waiting room. Like someone who'd done this before. Bell tried to laugh. "He's bluffing. Gotta be." But Carter wasn't so sure. "That look in his eyes, he's not scared." And just outside the city limits, 3 black SUVs sped toward the station, engines low, but coming fast. The clock was ticking. 7 minutes, exactly 7 minutes later, the station grew still. There was no siren, no engine roar, just the smooth arrival of 3 unmarked black SUVs, pulling in with synchronized precision. Their doors didn't slam. They clicked open, one after another, like pieces of a machine in motion. 4 figures stepped out, all in dark suits, earpieces glinting in the hallway light. They moved like they weren't used to explaining themselves. Leading them was Agent Vance. Early 50s, clean silver tie, eyes like polished steel. He walked with the unshakable calm of someone who'd seen the worst parts of the world, and hadn't flinched. The room fell quiet. Vance didn't ask for permission. He took it. "Who arrested Raymond Cole?" he asked, voice flat. Bell stepped forward. His confidence had withered into stiff posture. "We did. Officers Bell and Carter. We got a report of suspicious behavior." He matched the call. "And he was armed." "You ran his ID?" Vance asked. "Yes, sir," Carter said. That was your mistake. Vance didn't wait for a response. He walked past them. Another agent, Rivera, was already accessing the station's security system, fingers moving rapidly across the terminal. Monitors lit up with camera feeds, arrest logs, timestamps. Inside the holding cell, Raymond looked up for the first time. Vance opened the door himself. "Asseter Cole," he said quietly, with a note of respect. "I'm Agent Vance. We're pulling you out." Raymond stood slowly. "About time. I was starting to think your priorities had changed." Vance gave him a nod. "They haven't. But you've been off-grid for over a decade. The ping wasn't supposed to trigger unless someone leaked the 1989 list." Raymond's brow lifted. "So, it's happening. It's moving fast." Raymond looked toward the one-way glass. "They didn't know who I was." He paused. "But they knew who they thought I was." In the main squad room, Agent Rivera placed a slim manila folder on Officer Null's desk. It wasn't thick, just a few pages, but the contents weighed like lead. "Classified summary," Rivera said. "Eyes only. Don't scan it. Don't copy it." Null opened the file slowly. Operative, Raymond Cole. Active years, 1985 to 2003. Clearance level, Black. Assignments, Southeast Asia, Eastern Europe, North Africa. Reinstated, 2016, Dormant Program Protocol. Status, Exposure Risk Triggered Emergency Extraction. Null read it twice. Her breath caught on one sentence. Embedded under Federal Directive. Direct Field Coordination. She looked up. "He's still active?" Rivera didn't blink. "Was. Until your officers almost blew his cover." Across the room, Bell stood frozen. "Wait, he was a janitor." "No," Vance corrected. "He was in cover. That's what hiding in plain sight looks like. That's what we trained him for. You don't notice people like him until it's too late." Bell opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Carter finally asked, "Why would a guy like that be pushing a mop in a library?" Vance turned slowly, looking him dead in the eyes. "Because when you've seen what he's seen, cleaning up books and dust is the only peace you're allowed." Behind the glass, Raymond waited quietly. His hands were free now. But he didn't move until they told him to. Years of discipline still wrapped around him like armor. "Who leaked the list?" Raymond asked once Vance returned. "We're still tracking it. But it wasn't random." Raymond nodded. "Then they'll come again." "Yes," Vance said. "And not with local cops next time." A silence passed between them, heavier than gunfire. Then Vance added, "We have a safe house. Off-grid. Quiet. You won't be alone." Raymond looked back one last time. He'd been buried for a reason. And now, he was awake. The SUV cruised past the edge of town, shadows of trees streaking across the windows. Inside, Raymond sat across from Agent Vance in silence. No small talk. No debrief. Just the hum of wheels and the weight of history between them. "You said the 1989 list got leaked," Raymond finally said. "That's not an accident." Vance nodded. "We think someone with access cracked open and archived cache, names, ops, handlers. Old ghosts." He glanced sideways. "Your name was on it. And not just your alias, your real one." Raymond didn't react. Just stared forward. "Then someone's digging. We think they already found 2 others. Dead. Looked like car accidents. Clean jobs." Raymond's jaw tightened. "How many names were on that list?" 37. Raymond gave a slow exhale. 37 time bombs. Vance opened a secure tablet and handed it to Raymond. On the screen, an old dossier photo. A boy, maybe 6 years old, wrapped in a blood-stained cloth. His eyes wide. Terrified. A timestamp, Thailand, 1994. "You carried him out," Vance said. 12 meters through jungle under fire. Raymond didn't blink. I remember. He's alive. Working with the UN, someone sent us this photo last week with your codename attached. Just 2 words, thank you. Raymond's throat tightened, but he swallowed it down. Why show me this now, he asked, because it means whoever leaked that list wants to send a message. Not just destroy assets, but rewrite their history. Twist the truth before it's ever known. Raymond stared at the photo, then we stopped them. Vance nodded. That's the plan. But deep down, Raymond knew it wouldn't be that easy. Some wars didn't end, they just changed shape, and some names didn't belong on lists, they belonged in shadows. Back at Pine Hollow Station, the aftershock lingered. The silence wasn't peace, it was confusion wrapped in protocol. Bell paced the hallway, rubbing the back of his neck. Carter sat at his desk, staring at the terminal like it might explain itself. Null was still at her post, the classified folder tucked away but etched into her memory. Then, her phone buzzed, unknown number. Single word, room. She rose, crossed the hallway, and found Agent Rivera waiting by interrogation room B. You're the only one who asked the right questions, he said. So you get to sit in. Null stepped in. Inside, the room was cold. Gray. Empty, save for a laptop already logged into a secure channel. A face flickered to life on screen. Lang, NSA handler. Older. Sharp eyes. He didn't waste time. We pulled Raymond out just in time. His trigger protocol was 5 minutes from going live. Trigger protocol? Null asked. Rivera answered. If he had felt compromised or threatened beyond negotiation, he would have sent a silent ping. That would have activated a national-level blackout. Police stations within a 50-mile radius would have been locked down. Files scrubbed. Lang nodded. He's not just an asset. He's a failsafe. Bell stormed in. So what, we arrested some kind of spy janitor and almost caused a national incident? No, Lang said flatly. You arrested the only person in this region with black directive autonomy. Meaning he answers to no one. Not even me. Carter stepped into the doorway. But why now? Why him? Lang's expression darkened. Because someone wants to erase everything before it can be remembered. And Raymond Cole, he's one of the last who remembers everything. The screen blinked off. Rivera turned to Null. You still think he's just a janitor? She didn't answer. She just stared at the empty chair and whispered. No 2 weeks had passed since the incident. The town of Pine Hollow felt quieter, the air heavier. The Pine Hollow police station had changed. Bell was under internal investigation for procedural misjudgment. Carter had been reassigned, his badge and gun left on a desk where it now gathered dust, but Officer Maria Null was different. She'd been offered a temporary position as the federal liaison, a role she didn't expect, but one she accepted with quiet resolve. She hadn't wanted to rise in the ranks. But something about her had been noticed, her restraint, her questions, her silence when it mattered. The rest of the officers had made their peace with the situation. They couldn't understand it, but they could live with it, and Null couldn't. She had never seen Raymond again. Not directly. But one morning, a package arrived at the station, addressed only to her. No return address. No stamp. She opened it cautiously. Inside, a single letter. Null, some people think the war ends when the gun stops firing, but it doesn't. It just gets quieter. You listened. You didn't need a file to know something was wrong. You trusted instinct. That's rare. Stay rare. RC. Null stared at the paper in her hands. RC. Raymond Cole. She felt something shift inside her, something she hadn't expected. Her instincts had told her something was off with Raymond. But her silence had been more than just restraint. It had been awareness. Raymond had been hiding in plain sight, but what she didn't understand was that he'd been hiding from something. Someone. That day, she pinned the note to the inside of her locker, silently. No speech. No ceremony, but as she stood there, staring at the simple words, she knew one thing for certain: she would never forget it. Far from the quiet of Pine Hollow, tucked deep into the Appalachian Mountains, a small recovery center sat quietly among the trees. The area was peaceful, isolated, designed for veterans to heal, to find solace among the solitude of nature. Inside, a group of veterans sat in folding chairs. A young man in his 20s spoke quickly, his words tumbling out with raw emotion. "I can't sleep," he said, his voice trembling. "I keep replaying the convoy, the ambush. Every night. Like I'm right back there. I can still hear the gunfire. Smell the smoke." The room went quiet. Heads nodded. They understood. Across the room, Raymond Cole sat, a civilian now, but still carrying the weight of things most people would never understand. He was no longer in uniform. He had no weapon on him. But his eyes still held that faraway look, the one that marked the men who had seen too much, done too much, and were still haunted by the ghosts of their past. Raymond took a slow breath and then spoke, his voice deep but calm. "You never forget. Not the sound, not the faces, not the smells. It's always with you. But you learn how to carry it, without letting it carry you." The younger vet nodded, wiping his eyes. "How long does it take?" he asked softly. Raymond looked out the window, his face unreadable, lost in thought. "I'll let you know when it does." Before anyone could speak again, a young volunteer approached Raymond, holding a sealed file in her hands. "No name. Just a simple label, for you." Raymond accepted the file and opened it slowly, his fingers brushing over the worn edges. Inside, there was a single photo, grainy, old, but unmistakable. A 6-year-old boy standing outside a UN peacekeeping center, now a man, wearing a faded smile. On the back of the photo, a short message: "You gave me a chance. I used it." Raymond stared at the photo for a long time, his gaze softening for the first time in years. The faces, the names, the missions, they all came rushing back. But this moment, this letter, was something different. It was a reminder. A reminder of what he had fought for, what he had lost, and most importantly, what he had given. He leaned back in his chair, a quiet exhale escaping his lips. No smile. No triumph, just a single, silent breath. And for the first time in a long time, he let himself close his eyes. The air outside the recovery center was still, touched by the scent of pine and the fading warmth of the day. Raymond Cole stood alone near the treeline, the photo still in his hand, now folded and tucked into his chest pocket like a badge. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He just stared at the horizon, as if waiting for something or someone. Behind him, a shadow moved, not the wind. Not a tree. He turned slowly, already knowing. A man stepped forward, dressed like a hiker but too stiff to be casual. His eyes sharp. Posture trained. His hand brushed the hem of his coat, too close to where a weapon would be holstered. Raymond didn't move. "You know they're still watching you," the man said. "Even out here." "I'm not hiding," Raymond replied, "that's what worries them." A pause. The man reached into his jacket, not a weapon, but a burner phone, plain and blinking. He handed it to Raymond. "It's not over," he said. "They know the list was leaked intentionally. They know it wasn't just about names, it was a test. A probe. Someone's trying to smoke out the ones who disappeared." Raymond looked at the phone but didn't take it. "I've done enough." "No," the man said. "You survived. That's not the same thing." Raymond's jaw clenched. "I gave them everything. And now they want your silence." The man turned to leave but paused. "When you're ready to stop pretending this is peace, call the number on that phone. Because whether you like it or not, Cole, you're back in play." He vanished into the trees. Raymond stood there, the phone in his hand now. Cold. Buzzing softly like a distant heartbeat. I in the dark, some ghosts come back not to haunt you, but to wake you up. Days passed. Maybe weeks. Time moved strangely at the recovery center, like a slow river, silent but constant. Raymond Cole hadn't called the number. He still had the phone. Still kept the letter. Still remembered the boy he'd carried through jungle brush under enemy fire. He remembered it all, and now, others remembered him. The leaked list had set off more than alarms. It stirred old enemies. Burned operatives. Someone out there wanted to rewrite the past by erasing the ones who lived through it. Raymond knew what that meant. They weren't just cleaning house, they were preparing for something new. One morning, Noel received another letter. No address. No signature. But she recognized the handwriting. Inside, a photo of a wall, plain, brick, marked with a handprint. Beneath it, scribbled in pencil. They're coming for the ones who don't exist on paper. Don't trust the paper. She locked the note away, heart pounding. Elsewhere, Agent Vance reviewed satellite captures from the edge of Eastern Europe. 3 confirmed sightings of people long presumed dead. Cole's ping had drawn more than just federal eyes, it had drawn old wolves out of hiding. At the recovery center, Raymond finally answered the call. One ring. No words. Just silence. Then a voice, it's happening. You ready? Raymond looked out the window, the Appalachian mist crawling low over the mountains like smoke from a war long buried. I'm always ready, he said. And with that, Raymond Cole didn't disappear, he returned. Not as a janitor. Not as a veteran, but as what he had always been, the secret they couldn't bury, because in a world of surveillance, secrets are more powerful than weapons, and some men don't just carry secret, they are the secret. If this story made you feel something, don't just scroll past, subscribe for more stories that blur the line between truth and shadow. Because sometimes, the most powerful stories are the ones we almost ignored. Hit that like button, share with someone who loves mystery and intensity, and let us know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in Raymond Cole's shoes?